We have a very lengthy agenda, so we all need to be very efficient about our time. Not just us, but everybody here, please. Becky, if you will note for the agenda or the minutes that we have a quorum. We're missing 2 members, but we have more than enough to conduct our business. We begin, as always, with the approval of the minutes of our last meeting. Members of the commission, you've had a chance to review those. What's your pleasure?
Move approval.
Second. Is there anyone in the audience wish to address the minutes? Any further comments, members of the commission? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let's start with our old business. The first is the request of Gregory and Marcia Moye for a new single-family home on West Fountain. Are the Moyes here? Dave, if you could give a short background summarizing what we talked about.
So this application, as I'm sure I see some of the neighbors in the audience from previous meetings, in September was deferred to the November agenda to give the applicant an opportunity to take back comments from the Planning Commission and from the neighbors about the design. And at the September meeting, they were made aware of the deferral into the November meeting, and I don't see them in the audience this evening.
And they have not been in touch with you since
Correct.
the last meeting?
I have received no revised plans. Their single-family home proposed construction. So
the plans that you brought with you?
they were recent as a September meeting.
Okay. Well, with that said, I mean, we do need to take action. I mean, if we don't take action by operation of law, it's deemed approved. I don't sense that that's the desire of the commission. So I would entertain a motion. I suppose the most appropriate motion is to deny the certificate of appropriateness.
I move denial of the application on the basis that it doesn't conform with design requirements regarding massing, placement, and orientation.
Okay, I appreciate you adding the reasoning behind that. That's a true help for me.
Particularly the garage on the front.
Okay. Becky, you got those reasons?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Would second that?
Motion and second. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address this application? Do you all understand what's going on with that?
I didn't understand the question around the garage in the front. There's an exception to that?
The motion is to deny on the basis that the application does not conform with design requirements in the code concerning massing, placement, and orientation. The garage on the front is part of the massing that does not meet the design requirement.
It's not the fact that the garage is in the front.
That is part of what makes it not meet the requirements for the massing.
I think the guidelines stipulate that the garage can be in the front.
In this situation on West Fountain, all of the houses, none of them have garages on the front.
And what's the definition of the area? Is that by zoning or by line of sight?
There really is no definition. It really falls in the category of the discretion of the commission. Much like all of the guidelines, there's a lot of subjective judgment calls that we have to make. And one of those calls is, what is the vicinity? What is the neighborhood? And in this case, the discussion around the neighborhood of this particular property focused around those few lots that front on West Fountain. It's what, 3 houses total that are there?
Yes.
This would be the 4th. So that's how the commission viewed the neighborhood and viewed the vicinity. So that's those properties, those houses are what drove the appropriateness review as reported by Ms. Sullenberger in her motion. All right.
Second.
We have a motion second. Anybody else in the audience wish to address? Everybody understands what we're doing with this application? Okay, and just...
I'm sorry, I
That's
have
fine.
one question. Though I wasn't here, I reviewed all the last couple meetings. I thought the concern too was also that it was an attached garage, not just that it was in the front.
I think that kind of piggybacks on what Beth was saying, that all of the garages in this neighborhood, in this vicinity, are in the back of the backyard of the house, which is the pattern of development, and it's reflected in the massing and the scaling and so forth of the structures in the neighborhood. So by moving it to the front, that's out of character with the appropriate nature of that neighborhood.
Thank you.
But you are correct in that the part of the problem is it is attached on the front.
Thank you.
So it's both.
All right. Any further comments, members of the commission, members of the audience? We have a motion and second to deny. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Just so everybody realizes that this is a final action of this commission, but our regulations allow anybody who's agreed by this decision to file an appeal to the village council. Whether that will happen, I don't know, but we've acted upon it, and it will become final after 30 days if no appeal is filed. All right, well, that concludes our discussion of that particular item of old business. Let's move on to the second item of old business, which is the request of Byron Williamson and Sandra Hendricks for a new garage addition, sunroom addition, window replacements at 925 Congress. I believe I saw Miss Hendricks. Yep. Oh, and you're. Remind me of your name, sir. I'm sorry.
Yobi.
Yobi.
Studio B Architects.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming back.
Thanks for having us.
I understand you've addressed the comments we had at our last meeting? Yes.
I hope so. Yes. That's our intent.
Sure.
So since the previous meeting, the owners found an existing easement for the property that addressed a couple of the concerns. One of them being the sunroom addition proposed does not require a variance. That the side yard of the property is much further than what the KGIS map had indicated. And then secondly, the easement to the existing drive that we discussed last time, there is an easement in place to allow that existing drive, but we have adjusted the new drive extension back to be 5 feet off of the setback line. Additionally, we addressed the roof line of the garage to have the gable end align with the breezeway and more appropriately address the existing massing of the house. And I think those were the issues that we had last time. The windows, I think, were approved, but we did update the elevations to show those as double hungs and the 6/6 windows.
All right. Members of the commission, any questions for Mr. Yobi?
Well, the design is much improved, and we appreciate your taking our comments into account. The only thing that I noticed was that the windows are to be a bronze color, and maybe that was just an oversight.
The actual glazing, you mean?
Well, I'm not sure. It said bronze.
I think the trim of the windows is to be a bronze color.
Oh, okay, because I think that the white window sash is the color is integral to the material and the style of the house. So you've gone to great pains to make the windows match the existing, right?
Well, yeah, the window style to match the existing. I think the elevations represent what the owner would like for the windows themselves.
Right, so the color, the white color of the window sash to me is integral to the design of the windows. So I just wanted to clarify if it would be possible to have white rather than bronze.
Sandra, the owner's in the audience, so I'll let her address that concern,
Okay.
if that's all right.
Yeah.
And with the color, really quick, looks like the front of the house is already being painted nicely after it was stripped. Is that a white on the house?
No, that's just a primer.
Okay,
That we
all right.
have on there, and then we'll paint it
Okay.
like a light tan this spring.
Okay, I was just trying to understand that compared with the color of the windows, so I was just
But we
asking.
wanted to do a bronze trim window frame around it. The window itself is gonna be clear, but we would like to have just the frame itself. And I mean, I rode around in Glendale, and there's a lot of dark frame windows there, but we just wanted the trim, and the trim is not even 2 inches wide. Along with the
Okay,
double
so
bunk.
maybe we have a question of semantics here. So, what color are the sashes?
They would be bronze.
They would be bronze.
Okay, so really the entire window would be bronze, right? The sashes, the muntins, the frame.
Right, and the glass is clear.
Yeah, okay.
So I guess when we discussed the windows last time, and, you know, I apologize for not bringing it up because we had represented the windows as bronze on the previous elevations, and that never came up in discussion, so we really didn't realize that that was going to be even a potential issue of concern.
I guess-
Typically, Beth, we don't regulate colors, but if the color gives an impression of a material, is that where you're going? At least that's what I'm hearing. The bronze color of the sash and muntins, if that portrays
Well,
a
when you-
different material.
Depending on the material of the window, the color can be integral to the material. It's not painted, it's not a painted finish, it's
Mhm.
the color of the material itself. And that's the case with these windows, right?
Correct. They're a clad window.
And so, part of the argument that I was making at the last meeting was that the windows were very much part of the architectural character of the minimal traditional style, and they would typically be white, but you know, I'm aware that we don't generally approve color. So I'm not gonna make a motion on this.
So the one question I would just have is, I mean, the home is amazing and beautiful. I mean, the whole complete design is incredible. And as you drive by, you cannot miss it as you drive by. And the one thing with how you've explained and described the home, especially with integrating the gable of the addition of the garage, symmetrical for the breezeway, as you drive by, your eye is going to be caught by the dark color. It just will as you drive by. So in the windows being the draw of the attention for the character of the home, I think it would take away from the style of the house. That's just architecturally speaking. But again, I agree, we can't dictate the color of windows, so just a consideration. So right now, the windows complement with the home, and I think with a darker color against a beige or a khaki or something,
Right.
it literally is going to pop and stand out.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So
I think when you change that gable,
Mhm.
it really, really helped the house design.
Good.
I really appreciate you doing that. So I like that.
Thank you.
is there another dark color on the home that complements with the windows, or is it pretty much just the windows or that bronze?
Well, we're gonna do, a dark blue.
Okay.
Be a dark brown,
Okay.
and then the door, front door, the entryway.
So that'll be a little darker also?
It'll be dark as
Okay,
well.
so it's not just the windows that are
No,
gonna
not
pop?
at all.
Okay, great.
And these windows are not black, they're just a bronze color.
Sure.
I think it'll be sharp.
Okay.
Last month when we approved the windows, did we say anything about this? Do you recall?
I don't remember.
I don't
'Cause we
recall
approved
either.
the windows last month.
Let me, I see Mr. Sidley's in the audience. I know you addressed this application last time. Did you want to address this application? Mr.
No, I mostly wanted to look at the site plan on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Farrell, and it's what we expected to see. Looks great to me.
Okay.
And the windows look fine too.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience wish to address this application? Members of the commission, further discussion?
Sorry, you want me to clarify the minutes?
Yeah, please.
Sure. In the minutes, we talk about the lights, 6/6, 9/9, the fact that they're leaking. I see no statements about color in here. There's a lot of discussion about the roof pitch, which is not relative to this, but I don't see anything in here about color.
Okay. So the night's application is just for the architectural changes that we ask about
And the driveway.
in the driveway, and you're good on the setbacks?
Yeah, actually, the requirement to provide us a survey worked in their benefit. You
Very
guys
much so.
gained some room on that sunroom side, and the proposed driveway layout conforms with the zoning code. So, no issues from zoning perspective.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve as submitted, the revised plans as submitted as appropriate.
I second it.
Before we vote, would your motion in the second allow them to have white windows, white trim, white ones and so forth?
No, because we don't specify window color.
Okay,
It's my opinion, we missed that boat last month when we approved the windows.
okay. So it's understood, we're saying it's understood they could go to white because we don't do colors, okay. All right, further discussion, members of the commission? All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to Glendale. Oh, yeah. Well, let's move on to new business. We have a new application from Matt Niehaus for a new garage at 23 East Sharon. Mr. Niehaus, we've seen your new plans, so we'll let you begin the discussion.
Yeah, same plans as last time. Going with the LP engineered wood style vining, looks just like wood, lasts for 30 years. Don't see how that should be an issue. Windows on both sides, forest green. Garage door will be painted the same color that it is currently, which is like an ivory to match the house. And that's where we're at.
You said windows on both sides? Oh, on the sides?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not the back?
Correct.
Okay. Members of the commission?
Is it a resubmittal?
It is a resubmittal. I think the only change, correct me if I'm wrong, is the materials of the siding. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Last month it was a vinyl siding. Is that correct?
Correct.
And this is a more of a wood or wood related?
Yes.
Okay. And engineered wood, I think is
Yeah.
the proper term.
Tonight's date.
I can do that. Members of the commission?
Looks fine. Go ahead.
Pass this down.
Anyone else? Seeing no discussion, let me ask if anyone in the audience wishes to address this application. Seeing none, is there a motion, members of the commission?
Let's hear it.
I think they like to take turns.
I mean, I understand from last month what we were talking about materials, but I think it's appropriate to have a wooden garage in the back of a brick house. I've seen them around. So I'd make a motion to approve this new design.
Really quick, the question for the rendering that's in there, that doesn't capture the lighting on it again, but you had intended some kind of lights on the face of it?
Yeah, 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 sorry.
All right. No worries, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Since
this
that
will
was a
be the-
resubmittal, I just wanted to
Mhm.
make sure.
Yeah, it has two light fixtures on each side of the door. I'll
Okay.
just do that.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion. I don't remember hearing a second.
I'll second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Last chance?
Just to thank the applicant for revising the application to meet the code. Appreciate that.
I'll echo that. Thank you, sir. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. We'll work with David, and he'll give you
Get your permit. We'll give you a
permits
call.
from there. All right, moving on to the next application, which is Teresa Berline at 321 East Willow, replacement windows. You're not Teresa Berline.
That's my mother.
Okay.
She's currently in Florida, but
All right.
I'm actually the owner of the home. So.
All right. Well, I don't know that we've seen you, but we have reviewed the application, so we know what's proposed. You can give us a summary, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, quick summary is to update the windows of the house, make them more efficient, but also get a majority of the windows back to the more classic look. They have the, what are they called? What's the framing within the original framing within the windows? We're getting back to Munkins, sorry. It gets more with the original look of the house, built in the 1930s. We are looking at replacing each of the windows in the house at this point, except for the original sunroom. If you're looking at the house, the sunroom's located in the bottom left-hand corner. We're not touching those windows at this point.
Let's see. So the application mentions 4/4 or 2/2. Are you
There's some-
actually using those?
The 2/2 windows, I believe, are smaller windows that are. There's one that overlooks the driveway, and then another that is over in the master bedroom, I believe, that are just smaller frames.
Okay. I would appreciate it if you would approach and show us where they are.
Yeah, you can come to the gate here.
So that we know that we're talking about the same thing.
The 2/2s. The 2/2, what is that? 2/2.
That's 2 buttons over 2 buttons. You can do 4 in each sash or 2 in each sash.
I think it's the one over the kitchen.
I know.
I
was distracted.
Well,
Only 'cause I was
I
distracted.
wasn't sure.
So do you guys have this layout?
I don't recall.
No, that wasn't included.
Okay.
I was just, the question I had is, this is what a 2/2 window looks like, and I wasn't sure that there was any in your application.
The 2/2 is, there's one that's essentially over the kitchen sink, looking at the garage, the smaller window, and then there's also a one that's in a bathroom area where the original window was smaller.
Is that the kitchen sink window?
Yes, sir.
Oh, he's calling that a two.
So
but it's-
that's a,
Six.
looks like a casement, like a
6,
6-light casement. So it's
Do they
a
open like
pair.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, maybe it's the 2 bathroom windows. So in that picture.
You can come up.
I'm sorry. So this here is a back room. It's a smaller bedroom.
And so is each one of these a single sash? Like this is a sash and that's a sash? So they're side by side?
Correct.
Do they open
That's the way I
out?
understand it. It doesn't open currently.
At all? Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't open currently. And then there's a picture that's not included here. If I need to revise that, I can. But there's a view from this angle where you would see the additional bathroom window that's much smaller. Those are
Okay,
just
so-
examples of other homes.
So what you're proposing to do is you're gonna replace these this is a 1/1, right?
Mhm.
And you're gonna keep the style the same?
It's gonna mirror this style here with the mutton.
Muttons?
Muttons, yes.
So it's gonna be a.
So it would be a 6/6 then?
Tim, are we thinking about that correctly?
I
This is the
think I
contract.
saw some design with a mutton grid.
So there's some, in these windows here, there's going to be a 6/6 or
Well, we generally go back to the original design that's in here now, to be the 6/6. You've got, three in this, or three on each side. So it's going to duplicate pretty much what it is now.
That's a casement, so it's not even a 6/6.
Yeah, like a 6/6 would look like this,
With
where
that.
you have a double hung
Right.
sash and there's 6 lights in the top and 6 lights in the bottom.
With this one, it's actually in the kitchen, it's going to be a 2-light slider. To duplicate the
Okay.
same look as the double
As
casement.
something like this?
Exactly, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is gonna be plain like this. Right?
No, I have the colonial grids in it.
So
And this
like,
one here,
So you're gonna replicate that look,
exactly, yes, sir,
but it's gonna be a slider.
it is.
instead
so-
of casements.
So right now it's a casement, which
so-
open out, and
Mhm.
you're gonna have it be a slider.
So this is going to be replaced with something that looks similar but functions differently.
Exactly, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then what's gonna happen here?
We put it, what room is that, Jake?
This is.
Well, any of the
Nathan's
2/2s,
bedroom.
the 2/2s, I mean, I'm sorry, the 1/1 here and here and here.
Well,
What are those turning into?
Bedroom number 1.
Bedroom number 1. Bedroom number 1. I have colonial grids in that. Yeah, along with the colonial grids, to bring back the originality of the, because that's the way they were originally, I'm sure.
Okay, so the grids themselves, do they apply on the inside or the outside?
They're in between the window panes.
Okay, so it's not a true divided line because
No.
what we try to request and have is a grid on the front, grid on the back, and a divider strip in the center, so it looks like a true divided light.
Yeah. I know what you're saying, but no, all of our colonial grids, diamond grids, whatever that may be, they're in between the window panes. That's the way all replacement ones are now. I mean, you can still get the ones you're referring to, but you're talking Pella or Renewal by Anderson. That's an external grid, external mutton they call them.
So that's the style we usually approve.
Okay. Well, what's in there now, these are mono windows there now, there's no grids. So how that got approved, I don't know. But these have been in there for about 10 to 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it kind of depends on what was there before and the style and period of the house. I think it could be entirely appropriate to replace 1/1s with 1/1s. If you wanted to have the look of an older window with a 6-light mutton grid, we would require to have the grids on the outside of the glass, the inside, and the spacer bar inside. So we don't accept just internal grids between the glass. Because they don't look real, is basically why.
This is what they look like.
Yeah, so it's just a flat strip between.
Well, it's
the-
a contour grid.
Okay.
It's not flat. And they're designed to look like the old contour grids. That's like an embossing, but it's in between the window panes. It's a convenience to the homeowner because they don't have to clean in between each pane. But yeah, they do make those windows, but they generally only go with a Pella or
Mhm.
an Anderson,
Mhm.
and they're twice the cost, if not more.
Mhm.
Let's see if I can get
These are more examples of the casing. And it wasn't those.
that's how they work.
Mhm.
But they are predominant, they do stand out. The convenience of being in between the window panes is you can seal that glass, which makes it more energy efficient, and it has a lifetime warranty to seal. And of course, you don't have to clean around it.
Simulated divided lights in our ordinance somewhere, is it?
I'm looking.
I think you
That's what we always go.
Well, in our guidelines, it says use real through the glass muntins not apply or snap in artificial muntins. And we've been pretty consistent on that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go back with the original design and have no grids in there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you could.
That'd be 1/1
Mhm.
without grids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he doesn't have any on the front here now, as is.
Correct, right.
On the side, but in the, and I'd venture to say they all had grids one time originally.
Well, those are casements, right? So
They are.
they're
but-
built with true muntins, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I realize that doing what we have asked to do, which is to have the grids on the outside, inside, and then the spacer within the glass is more expensive. I acknowledge that. But that's what we asked for, and the interior grid doesn't meet our guidelines.
Mhm.
So,
Well, I get what you're saying, but I can ride around your neighborhood here if you've got 10 homes that have this kind of windows with the grids in between the window panes.
mhm.
So,
And they may or may
I
not be in
understand,
the
and-
district, or they may not be in the district, or they may have been installed before we created the district. So, yeah. Okay.
All you could offer up at this point is, because of the ordinances, we're bound by the ordinances, so we could offer up simulated divided lights, or would you go with just replacing as is with no divisions in there?
1/1.
I mean, is that
would
acceptable?
you be okay with that?
Yeah, yes.
So we could make a motion
You okay with that?
to go with either or, and then if you price out the simulated divided lights at a decent price somewhere else, you can do it. If you don't, you can go with the single.
Yeah, I mean, if it's okay, he can go with, in other words, if you can get the grids, you want them to protrude out. And if we
Simulated divided
can't,
lights.
then you want no
Yeah.
grids.
Simulated divided lights.
Correct.
So we've got to do that because of the
That's fine.
ordinances, so that's what we can offer up.
Okay, that's right.
I don't really
Right.
Good
know.
with that?
All right,
Thank you, guys.
well then I'll make the motion to approve, get the option of simulated divided lights or 1/1s with as is existing at the owner's choice based on
Okay.
your own money.
Yes.
That's it.
Second.
Motion second. Is there anyone in the audience wishes to address this application? Further discussion, members of the commission?
That's not part of it.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along, the next is the request of Eileen Bryce at 2 Forest Place for replacement storm windows. Ms. Rice. Or, you have a representative?
No.
Okay.
You, I gave everything I had to
Okay.
you.
Well, we have your materials. We've had an out.
He gives it to you all.
Yes, he does. We've all
I'm
looked at
not
those.
trying to change anything, I'm trying to protect the windows.
Mhm.
And I would have liked to have gotten wood. or have the wooden ones that are there repaired. I called about 6 or 7 people to have them repaired, and they all just threw up their hands and said they're too far gone, you need to replace. So, that's what I have been
And this is just the storm windows,
researching.
not the full
Right,
window?
not the windows. The windows are fine. I'm trying to keep them that way.
Okay. All right.
Well, the Allied aluminum storms are a good quality storm, and they're used on historic homes all over. And the storms are gonna match the window sashes, right? So I move approval.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
I'll second.
And motion is second. Is there anyone here in the audience who wishes to address this application? Members of the commission, further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
We're done. You're done. We're not.
Okay.
All right, well, let's move on to the request of Daniel Grohl for replacement decking at 1170 North Troy. Is there someone here for the Grohl application?
Yep.
Are you Mr. Grohl?
I am.
All right, we've reviewed your application. We know what you're proposing, and we'll let you give as much or as little as you want, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, the existing deck is a painted wood on both of the side porches facing north and south. And it's kind of on the edge of what's covered by the roof, so it tends to rot and need repainting pretty often, so I wanted to go with a PVC decking, timber tech that has a 50-year warranty.
So this is literally just replacement in kind, just with a different material?
Yep, and the existing railing, which is kind of rotting away with the wood, will just be reinstalled and reinforced, same vinyl.
It's totally appropriate. I'd move to approve as submitted.
Second.
Motion second. Anyone in the audience wish to address this application? Further discussion, members of the commission? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Good. David, if you'll need a permit, you'll
We'll
stay in
be
touch with David.
Yeah, we'll be in touch with you, next steps.
Okay.
We'll give you a call.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on, and that is the request of Mardell Jones, 1021 Morse Avenue for conditional use permit for a new pool. Yes, sir. Your name?
Jim Scott.
Jim Scott. Mr. Scott, we've had a chance to review the application, and you describe as much or as little as you want. We'll take it from there.
Okay, it's a 1636 swimming pool with an 8-foot deep end. The equipment's going to be a sand filter and a heat pump. It's going to be a saltwater pool. So this filter will have a discharge line also, which will go around the property, well, away from the pool. And it also has an automatic pool cover, which can close automatically at night.
Okay.
There's two places we could put the equipment. I put both of them. There's one on the left. We weren't sure if that would clear, if you have to, if you can see it from the street, if you all would allow that. Then we have a secondary location behind the house, which is about in the middle of the house next to a window well.
I don't think I saw where the first location was. And this is the only site plan that we've got. There's one.
Yeah, right there. There's one, and then let's see where it says. Okay, well,
That's next to the
right where it
house.
says house, to the right of the house would be a secondary if we had to do it.
To
Just
this on that
no,
side?
that's the yard. See where it says 12 foot?
Yeah, here.
To the right of that on the house.
Just somewhere around here.
Yeah, towards the back of the house.
This location is the side of the house, which might be visible from the street.
Correct.
Okay.
But there's landscaping there, some trees and bushes that hides it. I know some places they don't like to see it from the street.
Is there privacy fencing around the yard? Or
No privacy fence. There's a
fencing?
split rail that has the mesh on the wrong side, has to be put on the other side, and self-locking gate needs to be added to it.
Is there any lighting or hardscaping around the?
Hardscaping, there's gonna be a concrete deck around it. We are lifting, she has a step, she has to step down, coming down to the pool. You see her mobility's not great, so I'm raising the deck, so when she comes out of her, she's not stepping down. She can go right to her pool, the step down, they're off to the side of the pool.
Okay, any lighting?
Oh, the lighting is in the pool. There's
In
no
the pool?
lighting outside the pool, it's in the
Okay.
pool.
Okay. All right, well, this is a conditional use, so there's additional factors that we have to consider, and I think there are three: conformance with the master plan and no impacts on the neighbors and no traffic impacts. So, are the neighbors aware of this application? And
I believe so. There is a pool to the left of the property also
Okay,
already
okay.
that has a privacy fence. And then there is a neighbor,
Okay,
yeah.
looks like there's some neighbors.
Yeah. And they were sent notice to the mail, correct?
Yes,
For
yeah.
conditional use, right. Okay, well, we'll give them a chance to speak.
And one other concern I have is, I need someplace to take the dirt. I don't know if the village has someplace we can take the dirt.
No.
Because there's concern with the, the trees that are there. If we try to hide the dirt into the yard like I would like to do, because a lot of my business is in Butler County, and we can't do that here, so I didn't know. So we'd have to, it's a considerable cost to move the dirt somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm not aware
No,
of
we
any
wouldn't.
holes
We
or
wouldn't be
anything
able to
like
offer anything like
Well, we do
that.
have some
Unfortunately.
low places in the village.
Yeah.
There's something else to look for.
that. All right. Any other questions for the applicant?
There's a hole by the driveway. You can put some
Ah.
there.
That's not a lot. All right, nothing else from the commission? Let me turn to others in the audience who wish to address this application. Anyone for, against, neutral, who wish to address?
Stepping forward. Yes.
And your name?
Handy Pridemore at 400 East Sharon Road. So to help you to help you visualize, their backyard runs along my driveway. So I'm in the old Morse house. I have a row of pine trees that were planted approximately 10 years ago to provide privacy to that yard. Because again, it is only a split rail fence. This construction will definitely make an impact on the ground where that root system is, which means 7 of my pine trees, which are 12 to 15 in height, and 2 regular trees, possibly 3, depending on how invasive it is. I am not happy with this construction at all, and I have asked for a compromise, which the resident has denied. And the compromise is to move the pool from the most north section of the yard to the south corner of the yard, so that at least if those trees go, I want my kitchen, 2 of my bedrooms, and part of my living room won't have to look directly into that pool. Because I can't replace, and nor will they be able to replace, 7 full-size 10-year-old trees. But if they put it down in the other end of the yard, I at least will have my privacy. Parties will go on, I understand that, and I'm picking my battles here. I'm picking my battles. But I'm worried about my trees, and I don't want to lose that privacy that kind of sets the house off from that side.
Could you be more specific about how the trees would be impacted? Is there something related to the height of the trees and the distance?
The distance
from the trees?
from the trunks of the trees
7
to
feet
the
to
the-
fence. We're not talking about property line because there's a dispute about that as well. But the trunk of the tree to the fence is about 8 feet.
Uh-huh.
To put that at your plans, say 10.5 feet from the fence, in talking to the resident, she said the pool water would be 8 feet from the fence. You add another 30 inches of concrete, all that ground has to be disrupted. So you're literally digging up the dirt of somewhere between 12 and 15 feet from the trunk of the tree. And pine trees have a spread of root system according to, you all know who planted those trees. 25 to 30 feet out.
I think it's 3 times the height.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay, so,
36 feet.
and it's an if. What if the trees are damaged, or what if? And I just can't take the possibility of having to replace 2 or 3 of 7 of those trees. I'm not willing to take that chance. So I'm asking for the compromise. They get to keep their pool, but we move it to the other side of the yard where it won't have such an effect on my property.
So move it away from directly behind the house southward, is that what I heard?
South, yep,
So it'll be
So,
essentially
this
visible
way.
from the street, from Morse?
possible, yes. 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 Now, I have 5 trees on that end as well. But my thought process is if those go, I don't think they would go because she has 2 trees in there as well. But if they were to go, I could put smaller trees in there and it wouldn't affect my privacy where I live, you know, in the space that I truly live.
Okay, I have another question about a saltwater pool, and I didn't understand something about discharge of salt water, because salt can be bad for plantings.
Can I tell you, well,
Yeah,
saltwater pool,
Yeah,
it's less than salt in the tier of your eye. So if you take a
Okay.
teaspoon of salt and put it in a gallon of water, that's how salty it is. But when it discharges, it's discharging towards the street. And putting the pool down the other end is not great because the pool could float. Because it's a lower part of the pool, and that's where the water's gonna go. It can go under the pool and float the liner up, and then disturb the integrity of the pool.
And there's nothing you can do about that.
We can set the pool way up, and then, but you don't wanna put a pool and fill, and then you build it up with dirt around it.
okay,
But
so,
there's also a big pine, they have a big shade tree there. We're trying to avoid getting in and killing that tree, because we'd be really close to it there, not as close, we'd be much farther away, or be much closer than what she's talking about, her trees.
Could you explain how the water could push the pool up? I don't fully understand.
What happens is if for some reason, water is powerful, so if we have 100-year rains anymore. I've been doing this for 30 years.
Sure.
And what happens is the water gets so much water, the pressure pushes the liner up. When it goes back down, it wrinkles, and it can affect the bottom of the pool. Because that material is a vermiculite Portland cement mix, and what the water does, it washes the Portland out and then it gets mushy. So then, that's the issue. So, I mean, I live in Wyoming, I have a concrete pool, and I had to drain it to fix it a couple years ago, and it cracked in half. Because I had water out, I didn't have enough pressure on it. And so it cracked in half, I had to repair that. So that's the power of water on pools. Gives you an idea.
okay, so for a 10-foot tree that's 8 feet from the fence or 20 feet from the pool, I'm just trying to assess what the impact would be. So about, if a 10-foot tree has roots that are 25 to 30 feet and you're only 19 feet away from the pool, your roots could be impacted within a length of about 10 feet?
Almost 50%.
I've had 2 arborists out.
And that's fine, arborists are great, and they tell you what you want to hear, but I'm the one who will have to,
Tell me what I wanted to hear. They just tell me about the trees and the health of the trees and what they can sustain.
I just said there are what ifs in this whole conversation. What if the pool should float? What if my trees die? I'm here to just say, do everything possible to keep that what if off my side. I'm not telling you you can't have a pool. You've had that other pool for how many years? Now you want an in-ground? Great. Have an in-ground. But compromise with me and put it in the other side of the yard.
The pools are supposed to be contained behind the entirety of the house.
No, they're not.
Yes, it is. Yes, they are. It says in the, ask them.
Are you aware of any restriction that location?
Not within the ordinances, just that pools need to be located within the rear yard, but not behind, not to be not visible from the street. Now, I'm not sure if the guidelines have anything to say about that or not, but.
Location of pools?
There's nothing
In
the
the zoning
guidelines,
code does not.
The code.
Yeah.
No, the zoning code does not.
Let me see if there's anybody else who wishes to address the application. Yes, ma'am.
I live next door to, sorry.
Next door on Morse?
Yes.
Yeah, would you tell us your name and
Sure. My name is Debbie Marsh, and I live north of them, and
What address?
to the right, 1031. I've lived there like 30 years. I'm in all support of them having the pool. They really enjoy. They have used their other pool like every day in the summertime, and they also use it for exercise. And so they've been great neighbors. They keep up their yard.
And we talked to you about your tree though.
Oh yeah, I'm not concerned about my trees.
Let her finish.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not concerned about my trees. I understand why Pandy's concerned. That's fine, but I'm in all support of them having the pool and where they and they did go over it with me where it was going to be located, and I'm fine with that. I have no problem at all. I'm 100% in support of them having it.
Thank you, thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else wish to address this application?
We live on the
Yes.
street, and we got the letter that we're across the street. We're great with the pool. We're at 1036.
Okay. I remember when you were on Oak.
Yeah.
All right, those are two neighbors who are supportive, one who's not. Anyone else in the audience? For, against, neutral? Further questions, members of the commission? Keep in mind that this is a recommendation. We're not the final deciding body. This is merely a recommendation that we will forward to council. Is it on council's agenda tonight?
It is on council agenda. The council agenda, along with the other conditional use on the agenda for planning this evening, were written in as recommending approvals, just as placeholder language. So of course, if the planning commission decides otherwise, then that would change.
I have a question. If the original intent for placement of the pool took into consideration within the boundaries behind the home, and if there isn't language that dictates that, and it could move slightly while providing some kind of obstruction with vegetation, trees, whatever, bushes, to provide a little more comfort for the root systems, for that 30-foot from the center of the trunk over, could that be something that the applicant would consider?
It could be, I mean.
I'm not trying to make the pool float, granted,
Yeah, I
obviously.
understand, but if you move it down, they have a tree that's freaking 60 feet high, we're starting to get into the root system of that, and they got this tree hanging right over the pool. That means there's no sun hitting the pool. It's got, is it an acorn tree, or what is that, or walnut?
The wall cypress?
So it's, we got things dropping out on their automatic pool cover.
Gotcha.
So that's the only thing about that. And most, you know, I put pools in everywhere, and most of the language is you have to keep it behind the house. That's why but that's where they wanted the pool.
Yeah, I think that's probably not in our code, but it seems like a common sense thing.
Yeah, it's probably just understood when we say rear
Yeah,
yard, but most
yeah.
rear yards are more
Okay,
narrow.
so here's another question. Can the pool be, as it's drawn, it's 12 feet from the house. Can it be closer to the house?
Well, the setbacks for Glendale is 12.5 feet. Actually, there's an addendum. We talked on I did an email and send it back.
Our code requires that pools maintain 12.5 feet distance from the main
the
building.
dwelling?
Mhm.
Hmm.
That could be varied through a variance, not by us, but
Mhm.
at least it could be requested. No guarantee, of course.
I guess there's always we can't foresee the future. But if there is a possibility that it could damage to potentially kill the trees, unfortunately, that would be a result. There's nothing that can be done, or put in any kind of recommendations to assist in the future of that. We're not that kind of governing body.
Okay, and it can't be moved to the south because that would jeopardize an existing tree on the property.
Yeah, there's right where your hand is, there's a massive tree sitting there, yeah.
Does the neighbor to the south have any trees on his or her lot that would be affected by?
No, she has a pool.
having a hard time finding pools.
I'm looking at myself. What do you decide?
Our code is, excuse me, our code is very limited when it comes to a specific language about pools. We classify them as accessory structures for lack of a more specific restriction or definition.
What's the section that requires conditional uses for pools?
It's
Residential districts, the residential district uses. I don't know the chapter number off the top of my head.
Okay.
Tom?
Yes.
Lady in the audience had a comment.
Oh, yes.
I want to know how we know the pool's going to kill the trees if a specialist did not look at any of the pools or the lawn. We had 2 arborists out, and we were pretty much told it would be okay.
Well, how do we know that it's going to be pretty much okay? You haven't provided us documentation. You haven't
Well, I did not know I
provided
was
us.
going to need documentation
Well,
until yesterday.
okay.
Until last night at like 8 o'clock at night.
I have no
My
independent knowledge of what.
I did not know that pine trees had such a large root system. I thought they had a one main root and then a smaller root system.
No, they have to have the wider, more broad, or they wouldn't be able to grow as tall or stand still. And I've said twice, what ifs? What if your pool floats? What if the trees die? It's just, I'm stuck with 7 pine trees. I just took down a pine tree in the front yard, cost me $1,200. You're not gonna wanna pay that, and I'm not gonna wanna pay it for 2, let alone 7. So I'm trying to be proactive for all of us, asking for this compromise. That's all I'm trying to do, Cindy, you know that.
Members of the commission, it seems like we've got as much information as what we will have tonight. I must say I tend to agree with your comments about I don't know what the effects will be on the root system of that tree or of the cypress tree or whatever other tree that you have in the lawn. And I'm also struck by the fact that even if they weren't putting in a pool in the backyard, they could excavate the backyard for a new garage or any other kind of excavation that might have an effect on the root system. And that we don't have any control over that as far as conditional uses go. My personal wish list would be to have some information about the trees and the effect of the trees from reports. I don't know that we have to see expert testimony, but if we could have some expert or some treatises on the types of trees that might be affected and the root system, that would further educate me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing that
Yeah.
compels us to act tonight. That's my position. I'm not trying to impose it on the commission.
Yeah, now, between the 8 feet on Ms. Pridemore's property and the 11 feet on the applicant's property, that's still 19 feet. There's still 19 feet between the pine trees and the pool. And it's on one side, which means that the tree still has 3 other sides that it can support itself with. So,
It's 3 sides plus most of that 4 sides.
yeah, so, there might be some impact, but I'm not sure that it would be enough to kill the tree. So, I would be more comfortable with some expert consultation as well. But
Thank you for your
that's
consideration.
That's the way it looks to me.
Yeah. Well, it is one of the concerns, criteria for reviewing conditional uses is the effect on the neighbors. And we've heard from one neighbor who feels like she'll be affected, 2 neighbors who don't feel like they'll be affected. So if somebody wants to make a motion, we can defer this to next month.
Mhm.
Again, there's nothing that compels us to act today.
Okay, well, I move that we defer action on this application to allow for further consideration of the effect on the neighborhood, specifically pine trees on the neighboring property.
I would second that.
All right, motion second. Everyone understand the motion? We'll come back next month and we'll see 2 competing reports. Yes.
What is sustainable information that you're supposed to bring back?
What's sustainable?
Yeah, what would you guys find as compelling information? Is it a report from an arborist? Is it an arborist to be present?
All of that?
Is it a Google with, a Google search on pine trees?
I would stay away from Wikipedia, but some disinterested third-party
Because I've had
report.
2 arborists out.
Well, let me finish my thought.
So, I mean, okay.
Unless you want to talk, you
No,
just
no,
go ahead and
no.
talk.
No,
No. You have to decide, and you have to decide what information you're going to present to us. And quite frankly, I'm going to ask David to do his own research and help educate us. So between the 3 of these sources, we'll be able to figure out what's valid. And it would be helpful to know what type of trees that you planted. Is it just one type of tree that's there?
No, there's 3 different, same type of pine tree, but then there's some of the maple and something else.
Okay. If you could provide us with some indication, then that will help all 3 of us, all 3 groups, understand what the situation is. And you may find out that your trees and your roots may not be affected, but we won't know until we're just guessing at it right now. So let's re-educate ourselves, revisit this next month, and make our recommendation at that point. We have a motion and a second, do we not?
Mhm.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. See you all next month. All right, moving on to the request of Needy Beatty, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, you are.
For a new house and a conditional use permit for a pool on 65 Coral. Is there someone here to speak for Needy Beatty?
Yes.
Sir, your name?
Mantu Betty. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Commission. Good evening, David. I'm here to request a review of a house building project and get your blessings on some plans that were turned in following the protocol of the Historic District, which were developed by Randall Plikard, the architect, and part of the development team of LDI Development Group with him and Suki. The plans have been submitted for your review. Please, if you have seen them, ask questions. If you have questions, great. If you don't, please bless them.
We have seen them, and there will probably be questions.
Sure, sure.
If you're finished with your presentation, we'll take it to the commission.
Yes, I am.
Members of the commission. We have, obviously, we can drawings, we can pass them down. This is-
You've seen these, right? So the pool is a relatively small pool, right, in the backyard, centered?
Yeah, it's all.
Centered in the backyard?
Yes, and this is not a your regular conventional pool. This is what's the? It's a wading pool.
Uh-huh.
It's like a swim spa, so it's like a large sauna. So it's the new swim spas that drop in.
More for therapeutic purpose than the recreational.
So is it covered?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
And we are, I know David had asked me, we are adding a fence onto it. I didn't have enough time before this meeting, so we will add a fence around the back.
Okay. I think, generally the design looks very low scale, the materials seem appropriate. What can you say about the windows? What type of windows are you planning?
Randy, would you chime in back? We didn't specify in
Style at 2/1 is in the code.
Yeah,
Okay,
these
so-
windows were picked from the code, actually, the code that is allowed for these windows. But obviously, when it goes to permitting, it will, all those details will be submitted in the permit plans.
Okay, so we don't know a manufacturer or a material or on that, okay.
The beveled clapboard siding.
I'm sorry?
The beveled clapboard siding.
Uh-huh.
What is the material of that?
That's,
I think we'd like to use
The hardy, yeah, that's what we would like to use. Painted.
Okay, well, would it be practical to approve design and concept and come back next month with the drawing, with the window specification?
We could do that.
Is there a site plan that was submitted with that as well?
Yes, I believe it was.
The first page.
So,
If you need an extra set of plans to look at it.
I think we're okay. Thank you, though.
Okay, well,
just a couple of comments. Just off the top of my head, this just looks so top-heavy, out of balance, the stone here. I don't know what you could do to do anything with that. It just looks awkward
it looks contemporary.
here. Well, okay, maybe that's it.
Are you suggesting, Tom, that they be equal proportions?
Not no, I don't know what, I don't have a suggestion. I'm just saying, it just doesn't look, it looks awkward as far as, maybe your word contemporary, a little too contemporary, but it just looks unbalanced.
Yeah.
Just such a heavy mass up here without a window in it or something to break that up. It just looks awkward. Top heavy. I don't know how.
Sure.
Too much masonry, huh?
As,
That's a good point. Too high, like.
I'm sorry, what was that?
That's my only comment on the design of that.
So-
I don't know what you could do, so.
Well, you could put an opening in the gable, perhaps.
I mean, I don't know if you put a false vent or, it's not for me to come up with another design for you. But that's my only critique of the design.
As a suggestion, yes, that can be incorporated. As for the historic element, I don't think that, needs to be added, but as for as a suggestion, absolutely, that can be taken in consideration and added some kind of a window or maybe a transom window.
Something to break that
Yeah,
up
sure,
somewhat.
that can be done if I'm looking at it on the left side of the house.
And then my second comment as far as garage placement, in this case, it is appropriate, even though it doesn't show from the street, the front side load, because right next door you have the garage that has a front entry right next to the house. So I wanted to just make clear this one is appropriate because in that neighborhood, there are front loaded garages. So that's my only comment.
Thank you.
Okay, well, in the interest of time, I would like to move our general approval of the design concept
Very nice.
and request the applicant return next month with more information about materials, specifically the windows.
Sure.
As
That
well
is-
as this fence, if we could, sorry.
Oh, and the fence?
And you want to talk about the
massing.
the part of the front there that you talked about?
I'd like to see you tweak that, do
Sure.
something with that.
We can do that.
You know what I mean. Okay, thank you.
And Beth, your motion also includes a recommendation of approval for the conditional use on the pool? It's a two.
Oh, for this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me move on. Let me see if there's anybody in the
Except we
audience.
haven't discussed it in terms of effect on the neighborhood.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was going to turn to the audience, see if there's anybody. Is there anybody else in the audience who wishes to address this application? Okay, so there's no neighbors, and they were notified as well. Okay. And how deep is this pool?
About 2 feet.
2 feet?
Yeah.
So the excavation won't be as severe
No.
as the one
And
we
it's
just saw?
small.
Yes.
Right, and it's a length, well, it's not a very deep yard, but it doesn't come very close.
No,
It's well
it's,
beyond
and
40
it's
feet.
not visible from the street.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely not
60
visible
feet
from the street at all.
Okay, all right. So Beth, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but does your
Also
motion?
recommend to council approval of a conditional use for a pool in the backyard.
Okay. All right. There was a second to that motion?
And excuse me, did that include coming back with some revised facade design?
I did not put that in the
Okay,
motion.
then I'm not gonna say.
But you made the comment. and it's
If
been-
you would amend it, or, add that as so that he can come back with that, because
I mean, even if you don't, it's a recommendation, we'll take in that in consideration, and we'll make sure we have the architect here, so he will make sure it's incorporated.
okay.
If,
Out of respect for Mike, go.
I was
David?
just gonna say, Mike, trying to simplify this, if the planning commission wanted to vote on the recommendation separately from the design of the property, the design of the home, that could be considered.
Oh, the pool.
Yeah, get the recommendation for the pool, the conditional
Get that
use,
tonight.
Right.
and then move to the design of the home.
Okay.
I second that.
Second which?
The, suggest for the.
No. Not my motion.
You agree with it.
For
You're
the,
seconding
no,
his motion.
for the pool
Okay, so-
recommendation. And then the house
Separately.
design, yes, separately, and the house to come back.
All right.
Mhm.
Let's handle the pool first. We have a motion and a second. Is that right from you, Dan?
Yes.
Recommending approval of the pool.
Correct.
No discussion from the audience. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we've got a recommendation of approval to the council for the pool. So now we're going to revisit the motion to approve the house in concept with a few suggestions that were made. The windows, the other materials, the fence,
Fence
And-
and the design of the gables.
and the design of the gables. So that's a part of your
Well,
motion?
it's
Yeah.
actually not a design of the gables. The gables, you don't have a comment on, it's on the actual facade itself,
Right.
about incorporating some kind of another transom or some kind of window.
Something to break up that mass.
Yes,
Yes.
okay, very well.
Is that
Okay.
a second, Tom?
It is.
Anyone in the audience wish to address the house design, that part of the motion? Further discussion, members of the commission? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll look for you next month.
Truly appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome to Glendale.
Thank you.
Next application is Michael Gillespie for an accessory structure in North Troy. David?
We're pulling that one.
That one has been pulled.
Yes, we will work with the Board of Appeals on a variance for that one. That appears in the front structure, or front yard.
Okay. You gonna vote on it?
I forgot about that, yeah.
Michael,
All right.
homeowners?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I'll invite you.
Good job. All right, cool.
One more?
Oh, we understand. Final application is that of Stephen Geary. Oh, there he is. Steve, why don't you approach the podium? We've all had an opportunity to review your request. You can tell us as much or as little as you would.
No, it just ran out of time. We've, twice before, we've tried to keep it up, and so a couple of storms in the past 12 or 18 months have made it